Today marks 1 year, I guess you call it anniversary, or 1 year from the day that this woman here, my wife, Nicole Michelle Ward,
Ward.
let's introduce my wife, Nicole Michelle Ward. She's been in the background, always my cheerleader doing our live videos, but I'm very excited about her being on tonight and getting to share her testimony and her story. And I'll jump in because there's several components. One of the things I'll share off the top is that uh, she has no memory, no recollection of what happened at all. So the details of actually what happened what took place, I'll probably share a good bit of it. And the only lasting impact is her short term memory right now. So she's munching, but we're gonna go forward. But this is my wife. We're very grateful for her to be here. And we'll just start because prior to the aneurysm, well, the onslaught of the aneurysm, we believe, was crazy. So she can share that story. You remember what happened?
Waking up,
No, do you remember like the headache?
the headache, yeah. Trying to go to work. That's the beginning. Trying to get to work.
Yeah.
Trying to get myself together and ready, and my head was just banging. It was terrible. It was like the worst headache I've ever had. Um, a lot of you all probably remember when I was in high school, I suffered from migraines. I had to have a surgery to deal with that issue. And so I had had migraines before. This was on another level, a whole nother level. It was a splitting headache, just like I've read about and seen. I couldn't. I was holding my head. I was just trying to grin and bear it. I can take a lot. I was like, I've had two children. I've had surgeries before. Like, I've been able to get through things. What is this? Like, why is my head hurting so bad? Um, I can tell you, like, I can get through a lot. I was raised by a single mom, and we had to go to school because us staying out of school meant that she had to take a day off of work, and that was not happening. So I've learned how to get through and tough through things. I had perfect attendance all the way into like the 11th grade in high school. All my jobs love me because they know that I'm going to be there. I'm there. And so for me to miss out on work, it just wasn't happening. And before I got with this brother here, I was doing my single mom thing. So I was just used to getting that check. I could not afford to take a day off. And it just, I've never been a person that just lay down anyways. Like when I wake up and I'm not feeling good, to me, most times the best medicine is fresh air. Like just to get out and just try. So there's been several times that I've woke up not feeling well or whatever, but I just still muster it, get myself up, take a shower if I have to, go outside, drive to work with the windows down and just get a breath of fresh air. And usually 9 times out of 10, by the time that I get to where I'm going, by the time that I just get into the routine of my day, I'm okay. Like I'm okay. So I was trying to get to that point that day. That I do remember. I was trying to get to work.
I'm gonna jump in. Love everybody to come. So this is what I said. Like some of the details are somewhat fishy. So her job, she works Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. This particular day was Wednesday, so she was off. She wasn't feeling well. She wasn't feeling well on Tuesday. She came home from work on Tuesday and was not feeling well, and so she knew she was going to rest on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, she was able to get downstairs. I was working from home, and on the main level of our house, where I had was working, there's a couch in there. So she came in there and to just kind of be near me like she likes to be. And I was laying on the couch. And as she was there, she started complaining of this tremendous headache. So I closed the blinds because the only thing we could attribute it to was the fact that she had had migraines. So I closed the blinds and she's just kind of frozen solid, like she explained. And after a few minutes, I went to get her some medicine. And after a few minutes, the headache kind of subsided, but she had a pain in her neck. She said it went from her head to her neck. And we didn't think much about it, but we looked. at the time, and so it was in her neck. And then about 5 minutes later, it went away. Everything went away. And so it was in the evening, 4 or 5 o'clock. So I was winding up my day. And so after that, I was like, "You good?" She was good. She got up. She was able to get around. She was still not feeling well, like a cold. And so she was coughing and sneezing and stuff like that. But as far as the headache, it was gone. She went around the house and laid in the living room and then went to bed. And she said, "I'm still not feeling well." So she asked me to contact her employers and let them know that she wasn't going to be at work the next day. So this, what she just shared, if she knows she's not going to work the next day, she's really not feeling well. And so we went to bed and woke up the next morning. Woke up the next morning, she's still not feeling well. And it was April 1st. She told the kids to come in, and she hugged the kids and told them to have a good day before they went to school. She even texted Lachey, her best friend. They started texting at some point in time that morning. She texted work. I believe she texted some people from work, let them know, like, "I'm really not feeling well. I'm really not feeling good." And so she said, I'm going to lay back down after the kids went to school. She said, "I'm going to lay back down and get some rest." I said, "Okay, well, I'm up. I'm just going to go ahead and get started with work." So I went downstairs to go to work, and I began working. And I came back upstairs a couple hours later to check on her, somewhere around 10-ish, 10:30. So I don't remember the exact time. So I came upstairs and she was snoring. So I thought she was having some really good sleep because she was snoring. And so I called. I went to use the bathroom, and so then she was still snoring. And usually, if I'm in the room or whatever, she would make a movement or something. She wasn't. She wasn't moving. She was just snoring. So I called her name, and she if you can imagine, she was laying like this, and then she lifted her head, and then put it back down. I said, "Nicole." She did it again, lifted her head, and put it back down. So, all right, she must really be gone. She must really be tired. And so I walked out, and then I came back in because something didn't feel right, and I called her name again, and she lifted her head and put it back down. So now something felt off. So I walk up to her, and I look, and I get closer to her, and I see that she's saturated in sweat, soaking wet. And so then I pull the covers back, and I notice she's soaking wet. She's saturated all the way from everything I can see. So I grab her, and I say, "Nicole." And as I grab her, I could feel half her body was completely stiff, and the other half was completely limp. So I'm holding one side, and you can feel the stiffness, and I'm holding the other side, you can feel the limpness. And I grab her, and I shake her, "Nicole," and and her eyes pop open, and they're rolled all the way back in her head. And so I'm shaking her, "Nicole, wake up, wake up, wake up." And she's not, she could moan, but her eyes were stuck back in her head. And I grabbed her, the side that was stiff, and I tried to just move, and it wouldn't move. I got, so I was shook, and I stood there, and at first so I called 911, and I hadn't even paid attention. Now, after I shook her, I hadn't paid attention that her breathing had shifted. She's panting. So I called 911, and I'm telling the lady what's going on. I don't know what's happening. I just know she's not responding. Her eyes are rolling back in her head, and she's panting, breathing. And they said, "Pay it." They just tell me to stay on the phone and pay attention to her breathing. And they tell me every time she takes a breath in, and I'm going and I'm telling. They just said, "Stay on the phone, stay on the phone." It wasn't a minute. I don't want to say that. It wasn't 2 minutes later. I can guarantee you that I heard sirens. I don't know how far right now the fire station is from us, but it only took them a moment for them to get there. Um, so I heard the sirens coming up the street, and I told the lady, if I hear the sirens, she said, "Stay with her until they get there." She said, "Where are you at?" I told them all the way on the top floor of the house. Um, so she asked me to go open the door. Just open the door, ran downstairs, opened the door, came back up, and um, the first responders came, and they came running in. So if I can ask you to do anything, I want you to pay attention to the chain of events that took place and why I always talk about encounters, and I talk about God, and I talk about how He orchestrates things, because there's things that happen. You don't necessarily see it in the moment, but you can see how God, even in the midst of a trying and troubling situation, He's involved and engaged. Um, First responders come and they're asking me what's going on, and I share with them what happened, and they're trying to get her to respond, and she's not responding outside of the same thing that was happening for me. And the eyes rolling back. They're trying to get her eyes. They're trying to do different things, and so the head first responder says she's having a neurological event. We're not sure what, but we need to get her to the hospital immediately. Fine. They said, does she have any issues? I said, she does have high blood pressure. She suffers from high blood pressure. She's on medication and hypertension. They said, okay, possibility. We're not saying anything, but we're going to have to rule out a stroke. That would be one of the things. And he says, we're going to take her to Kennestone Hospital. Whatever you say. And I'm not even thinking, because Cobb Hospital is right up the street from us. But he says she's having a neurological event. We're taking her to Kennestone. I said, okay. Now, this is just the first responders. Then the ambulance arrives a few minutes later, and they come upstairs, and they do an assessment. And they're getting her to get ready to put her on the stretcher and take her down. And the head person on the ambulance says, sir, we're going to take her to Cobb. I said, whatever, it's fine. And the first responder overheard that and comes back into the room. He walked out. He comes back into the room and says, no, she needs to go to Kennestone. And the ambulance woman says, no, we need to get her to an emergency room immediately. We need to get to Cobb. He says, no, she needs to go to Kennestone. She's having an issue that needs to be dealt with because they have a better neurological center at Kennestone. His override works. They put her in the ambulance, proceed on down to Kennestone. They wouldn't let me ride with her because of COVID, and they told me not to follow them or I would get a ticket. But, of course, I followed the best I could, flying. If you know anything about me, I have a very heavy foot. Didn't run any lights. I got there legally, and we got to the emergency room. We got to the emergency at Kennestone, and of course, they're looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm not supposed to be there. And I told them, listen, my wife was just brought in. And they said, okay, come with us. And they sit me down, and they come get me quickly. And somebody comes in and begins to say to me, we're not sure what's happening yet. First thing we're going to do is rule out a stroke. It does not look like a stroke, but we have to start testing now. We need you to sign everything. So I signed everything. I come back less than 5 minutes later and say, your wife's she didn't have a stroke. We believe she has a ruptured aneurysm. We don't know yet. We're sending her in for more tests to confirm, but we do know she has a massive amount of blood on her brain now. Mind you, I don't know what's happening, and I'm okay. I'm not okay. I'm just not, I'm still together. So they take her back for more tests, and they come back and confirm it is a ruptured aneurysm. She needs to get into surgery immediately. We need to perform 2 surgeries. We need to perform a surgery to close off the aneurysm and another one to begin draining the blood off her head. Fine. Now, tons of people are coming back, having different things to say. And he says, they said, do you want to see her? I said, of course. And I'm going to try my best, for both of us to try to make it through this. It's hard to relive. So do you want to see her? I said, of course. So they bring it back, and she's alert. She's alert, she's up, but she's very disoriented. And I'm back there. She kept saying, she wanted to lay on her side. She was uncomfortable. And they were like, you can't lay. She just kept arguing, I want to lay on my side. I want to lay on my side. They were like, you can't lay on your side. Stay on your back. And then, so I stand in there, and she's still Now, mind you, the left side of her body is now limp. I mean, it's now the left side of her body is the side that's stiff and taut. She can't move her left side, and so I don't think she can see on her left side as well. So I'm standing on her left side, and she doesn't have any knowledge of me. I'm like, hey. I start speaking, hey. She's like, hey, hey. She starts to recognize my voice, and so the surgeon's main whatever person is like, go to her other side, see if she can see that. So I go to the other side, and I'm like, hey, hey, but it's hey, and she's like, hey, and so the surgeon's main person was like, do you know who that is? She's like, yeah. And he's like, who is it? She's like, it's him. She's like, who? It's him. And I'm like, okay. And then they began to tell me what they were going to needed to do for. And so they signed the consent, and they tell me, I can't stay. So unfortunately, hospital rules right now, COVID was rampant. They said you can't stay. You can help us walk us back to the operating room, but you cannot stay. What what am I going to do? That's what I say to. What am I going to do? They said we're very sorry. It's just hospital protocol. You can't stay. And so he's sending me. He's giving me all the paperwork that I have to sign, and I go back into the room, and she's very, very, very discombobulated. And so he starts. The main guy starts going in depth again and explaining to me the the likelihood of how things could go. And that's when I lost it. So I'm trying to, hold it together um, as they begin to wheel her towards the uh, operating room. You get to the operating room, and they wheel her in, and the surgeon says, "This her husband." Yeah, this her in the room. I'm just outside. I said, "Okay." They said, "Well, they say, well, he's getting ready to leave. He can't stay." And he looks, and he says, "Let him stay. Find him somewhere to be. Let him stay." So they let me stay. He told me the procedure could last anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours. So they take me to this empty wing of the hospital. And anyway, I began to call all of. I've already texted some people and called some people. Nicole made a post earlier from her friend Latiki, who was really lost because I had no I had it hadn't even dawned on me yet that it was April Fool's. And I was frustrated because I sent her this text. Nicole is in the hospital, don't know what's going on, and she replied back, "Ha ha, ha ha," whatever, something like that. What's funny about that? I'm shook. And then so as we get into it, she's letting me know. I didn't even hit me like it's April Fool's Day. So anyway, I'm having a conversation with everybody. So it took all of 3 hours. Got a call back 3 hours later that um, the surgery was complete. And the surgeon calls and he says, we were able to close off the aneurysm, and we were able to do the most efficient surgery we possibly could with the type of aneurysm she had. They can either clamp the aneurysm, which basically just kind of closes it off, or they can do what's called coil it, where they put these tiny coils in there that kind of seals it off, but it gives a better opportunity for healing. So they were able to coil it. And when he calls, he says, we were able to get the coils in, so we were able to do the optimal procedure. I said, okay, thank you. He said, we got the drain in. There was a lot of blood, so that's going to take quite some time. She's going to be here at least for another 3 weeks. I said, wow, had no idea. Um, he says she has a 0% chance of ever having aneurysm in this area ever again. Doc, I said, look, don't do me like that. I said, if I'll take a small chance, I'll take whatever, but don't tell me there's no chance. He said, there's a 0% chance that she will have another aneurysm in this area because of the procedure we were able to do. The coils now enable that area to expand properly. So even if blockages or things occur, the expansion enables it to not explode. That's what a ruptured aneurysm is. It's a the blood vessel is like this, and then an area of it balloons out, and that's the aneurysm. It can balloon out. When it ruptures, it gets too expansive like a balloon. It pops, and that's what happened. It pops. So that's what was happening with her when she shared the portion about the headache. That's what we believe. That's when we believe it started. The issue that I caught her in was the blood that had started pooling, and she was having hemorrhaging in the back of her brain. And now the blood that was sitting on her brain had become toxic and was causing tons of issues to happen.
That's great.
So the surgeon says all of that. So I'm like, when can I see her? They were like, you won't. They're gonna wheel it to a room, but we're able to do you this favor, but we can't get you back to her room. You can probably catch her in the hall. Worked it out, saw her in the hall, able to kiss her, tell her I love her. They wouldn't let me see her. Would not let me see her. I couldn't go with her because of COVID. I just knew I was gonna come back the next day. Came back the next day. Um, Still can't see her. No visitors are allowed in the hospital. I pleaded and pleaded and pleaded for them to let me see her. They wouldn't. Um, I began talking with the people at the hospital, and they said, "Do you know how lucky you are? Lucky." Said if she had not got there when she did, if they had not gotten to where when she did, the likelihood of her making it, with if she had been an hour later, much more than an hour later, she would not have survived. Um, if you don't you don't understand or realize, she had the top neurological surgeon perform surgery on her. Not only did she get there in time, but she had the best neurological surgeon on staff to be able to perform the surgery. Um, so uh, they wouldn't let me in. So then the next day, I think this was Thursday. It was Thursday when she went in. Friday they wouldn't let me. Saturday I called again. I was like, listen, I'm just check. I was calling often to check on her, and they said, Mr. Ward, we we took your requests to the head nurses, and they said if you'll sign a waiver, we'll let you come. Absolutely, absolutely. Whatever waiver, whatever I have to sign, I'll come. They said you'll have to sign a waiver, and you have to put basically a hazmat suit on. Fine, but you can't go in the room. I don't care. So for days, I for a day, I think for 2 days we would have come. I would just be standing outside of her. Like last, I'll post this picture. She was in basically she's in ICU, and it's a glass encased room. And I would I brought her phone so that I could talk to her. I gave it to the nurse, and they would give her the phone, and I would call, and the nurse would hold the phone so she could hear my voice, and we could talk. And I began calling different family members and the kids, and so they could have conversations on three-way. And we would have conversations, and this was at that point when I realized that how her mind had remembering how things were working, because we would have the same conversation every 3 or 4 minutes. But she's here. So a couple of days later, they said, "Hey," because I'm up there all day long, and they said, the nurses, they see that you're here. They said, if you'll sign another waiver and you're willing to, make sure you keep your face covered, we'll let you go in the room. So I was able to go in the room, and I started being able to be with her. and then they started laxing stuff up in the hospital. So she's progressing. I can't recollect all the details nor do I feel like sharing because there's so much. Um, you don't remember any of this, right?
Nope.
They would ask her periodically, about every hour, they would come in and they would do certain tests, and they would say, "Hey, what's your name?" She knew her name. "What's your birthday?" Knew her birthday. "What year is it?" 2009. It's 2009. "Where do you live?" "Concord Chase." What? "Oh no, I live in Oakley Run." Oh, I'm letting her talk. This is our oldest.
That's, yeah.
Go ahead. Hello. Say what people say.
I
Hello.
don't. I can't start from where he left off. Um, I can just tell you, like, every time that I
We
hear
are
this,
live right now, but if you
it's
use that for
news
the
to
text
me. Like,
override us,
every time that I hear
well,
him
I can
tell
do
this
it.
story,
But just coming back to the
I
house,
feel
you
like I'm
say
having an out of body experience, and I'm looking at him, and I just feel like, oh my God,
it's
poor
dragon. It's
girl,
called Dragon
this poor girl.
one six
But
eight.
then my second
Called
thought
Dragon one
was
six
like,
eight, and it's
wow,
one
like it's a
one
good
big fat
thing that
cat.
she
There's
had
one. There's a
somebody
bunch of them. It's the one in Marietta and
watching over her,
off Macklin Road
and
and South Freight.
they cared like
Okay.
you. Um, it's amazing. I'll let you finish. It's it's crazy. I was just letting them know I hear you tell this story often. I hear you say this a lot. Sometimes I'm even upstairs and I can hear him on the phone telling this story, and I just always feel like, oh my God, poor girl. Like, who is he talking about? Like, what? And every time I hear the story, I hear something different. He's telling the same story, but I just catch something and I catch something again, and then just to know that like that's my story. Um, it just blows my mind. I did not know I had it in me, and I don't think that I do. Like I know that it was God working through me. I know I'm being used, which is something I've always asked for and shouted for him to do. Use me, Lord, use me. And I had somebody remind me, like, why are you so surprised? Um, I still keep in touch with somebody that I was under when I was 14 years old. And she even told me, I used to watch you jump around and shout, use me, use me, use me. And he did. Why are you surprised? So I hope that you mean it when you say it. Because when it happens, boy, it's it's something. I'm honored. I'm honored. You were in the progression of your story though. I'm sorry.
I mean, there's a lot to tell. We won't get it all in one night. Started letting us see her. And so I'll deal with the major components. So she was progressing well. They do a lot. There's a lot of tests that they have to run to make sure she's okay. They measure the pressure that's in her head, as I don't know if you saw the picture of the blood that's being drained off. You have to drain it at a certain rate, so that it doesn't drop too fast or too high. So they're measuring pressure. There's also the brain can go into shock. From as a result, she could have many strokes, and she did, and she had found out she had some mini strokes in the process of this. And so, mind you, again, she's not remembering anything. She doesn't know what year it is, doesn't know what month it is, she doesn't know where we are. Every day, it's the same thing. And then the main thing for me is like there was just no movement in that left side. Nothing was getting better with that. And then she started after about 4 or 5 days, about 5 or 6 days, she started getting a little better. And so as she got better, they started trying to get her up out the bed and move her around, and she was doing well. They were talking about like how things were going to progress, um, and I was up there every day. I would get up as soon as they would let me come in. They would let me come in at 9, so I get there at 9, um, and I would come home uh, around 1, 2 o'clock every day to eat and to get her some food and get some stuff together for her. and just to get things set up for the kids as they were coming home. It would be somewhere around that time. I would sometimes I'll meet the kids at home. So about 10 days after, 10 or 11 days after she had been doing so well, she was having a fantastic day. The first day they had put her in a chair outside her bed. She was sitting up. And I came in that morning. They were like, "She's doing great today. She's doing so great today. She's on the right path." And I was wonderful. So I left on cloud nine. And they mentioned that at some point they would be able to remove the drain and allow the brain to start draining for itself. And so anyway, I came home around 1 or 2 o'clock, and I came back, and the drain was out, and she was just laying there. And I'm like, and I walked into her room. Nobody else is there. I walk in there, and the drain is. I'm like, so they removed the drain. We're really hitting. She's like excelling in her recovery. Look at God. You know what I'm saying? And so I come back, and then 2 or 3 minutes later, like 10 people come into the room with all kind of equipment and um, uh, stuff. And they're like, I said, what's going on? Is this from her removing the drain? And they said, well, we didn't remove the drain. She pulled it out. What? Now they have pictures. I'll send some more pictures. Now she's supposed to, because of her not her memory, her lack of memory. This is the thing they would keep gloves on her and keep her hands tied to a certain level so she couldn't move them high enough. And this was protocol. So my assessment was that was supposed to be how she was supposed to be handled while I was gone. Anyway, something got mishap. That didn't happen. While she's in the chair, she pulls the drain out, and that was not good. Um, so as she pulled the drain out, so then her surgeon his name is Dr. Ahmad Kaldi. Ahmad Kaldi. If you know anybody who has any neurological issues or anything going on, call Dr. Ahmad Kaldi. God sent for not just us, I believe, for any of his patients. He is an amazing, not just surgeon, an amazing person.
Yes.
He was very matter of fact during all of this because was all about getting Nicole well. And he says, Dwayne, we're going to have to perform an emergency surgery. I have to drill another hole to put another drain in, and I'm going to have to try to get that drain back in, and I can't put her under for that. We don't have enough time. So what you see now is I can't even get her to an operating room. We're going to have to do it right here in ICU. Okay. So they were able to successfully put another drain in and the other one back in. The next 4 days were hell. She, as well as I saw her doing those previous 10, 11 days, she was completely out of it. She was hallucinating. Her lips were always quivering and shaking. Her hands were doing this. And I was able to watch the monitors, and I learned everything. And her head pressure, there's levels, there's numbers. They're supposed to go from the number five to the highest 15, need to be around that 5 point. 15, they said, is basic. If you get above a 15, they said that the pressure is likened unto the most excruciating sneeze. Like give you that pressure, like you had a really bad sneeze. If you ever sneeze and afterwards your head, you're like, oh my God, my head hurts. That's what 15 is. Above 15 is just unbearable and unrealistic. Her numbers were hovering around 28 to 35. And they were very concerned, of course, because this means the pressure in her head is so high. She's complaining of she's running fevers now. They got all stuff kind of going on. Come to find out she has a brain infection because of what took place with the pulling out of the drain. It caused a tear, and now her brain is infected. The pressure is high, which is causing the pressures to elevate in the brain, and it's also not. Because they got it perfect the first time. The replacements were not in the right place, so they're not draining like they're supposed to. So I get a call about 3 or 4 days later. Of course, I can't stay overnight with her, but 3 or 4 days later, about 4 o'clock in the morning, I get another call from the surgeon's office, and he says, Dwayne, things are not well. Her pressure levels are above 40, and we can't get them down. If we don't do something immediately, again, we may lose her. Or do you give us verbal permission to perform a surgery? I said, yes. I said, can I come up there? They said, yes. So I go up there. They said they put a drain. There's a picture in there. You see a cord coming off her back. They decided to put another drain in her spine to help drain the fluid off of her brain because it's a spinal fluid. It's also this continuously developing over there. They put another. They fixed the two drains. They get them right. Um, and we start finally seeing some progress. So anyway, we're here for another few days, and she's still not like she was originally, but you can start to see things progress. Um, I'm smiling because I think about every time I would bring her some food, man, because she's tired of that. She was getting tired of the hospital food. So my mom was cooking food and bringing meals to her. We would take stuff to her, and she was killing it. I'm gonna post a couple of videos. She was, when I tell you, killing the food
I believe it.
that we would bring up there, and it was a joy to see that. Um, there's so much, man. And,
Oh,
we still got we were concerned about her left side, and they kept telling me that she was the blessing is that she was young. And then so they started doing in hospital therapy and rehab, trying to get her cognizance back and cognition back and some of her movement back. And so you've seen some of the videos. And yes, right, Evan. That's the big thing right now is that if if you if you were to look at it right now, none of this would be believable, and that's
no.
what's hard. So anyway, she started getting therapy and she started getting better and getting better and getting better, and there were some ups and downs, but things were progressing and she was getting better. And so finally, we got to the point where they moved her out of ICU, and oh man, there was so much drama. I can't remember. We had drama from people trying to sneak in and see her, and we had drama with nurses going behind my back and doing different things and all that kind of stuff. But um, we were coming towards where they were getting ready to release her, and this is where I say how God does things. I'm not familiar with how most people in the medical field, but the, Dr. Caldy was coming constantly, and he was just every time he would come in, I wasn't paying attention at first. He would come and check on Nicole, and she would be having better days, and he would be, oh, thank God. I just thought it was just run of the mill, something good to say. So I think the day before, it's the day of or the day before she was getting released, I was talking to him. I was like, man, look, I absolutely love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You saved my wife's life. Thank you. If you ever need anything, he stopped me. He said, I'm good at what I do, but God was involved in all of this.
Oh my God.
Say what? I don't know what this is. The doctor talking to me. He said sometimes God writes our story a little differently than we planned. But this is just a chapter. It's just a chapter in her story that God has got so much more in store for her. It's just a chapter. Just be thankful that God allowed her to make it here because that's the miracle. This is the doctor. Dr. Ahmad called it. Be thankful that God allowed her to make it to the hospital because that's the challenge. If they can make it to the operating room, they can make it to the hospital. I'm equipped. I'm learned. I've done this long enough to be able to do whatever I possibly can to help save lives. But I can't do the parts that only God can do. This is the doctor.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And so at that moment, I was like, God is really had his hand in this from the beginning, from the first responder to the people in the ER to the surgeon
Mm.
and every nurse. Hey, listen, I'm not trying. It's not being funny. I'm grateful to God for who he's the posture that he allows me to walk in because they say favor isn't fair, but I believe I was allowed to be in the room with my wife and be able to sign waivers, and every nurse there would do whatever was necessary to help me. I became. They told me. They said, listen, because and I wanted to help them because I saw them. And to anybody that's watching, man, and you have loved ones or any, people in the hospital, man, you better love these nurses, man. Appreciate these nurses, not just the doctors as well, but these nurses are. I can't think of the word. I watched how much labor that they do for people and the attitudes of some of the patients. And then when they did start opening up and allowing some people to come in periodically, I would see how rude people were. And I couldn't understand it. I mean, I understand it's a tough situation, but I watched these people bounce from room to room and buzzers going off, getting calls. And every time they turn around, there's somebody, because everybody's curious. And so what I did while I was there, I paid attention. I watched. I didn't need to call them when she had to use the bathroom. I got it. Boo boo and all. Hey, listen, man. Listen, I can honestly say, listen, I have wiped my wife's boo boo several times. I have cleaned her when she needed to be cleaned and cleansed. I watched I saw where the warm wipes were, and I went and and you learn, one, because it's my loved one. I don't think anybody can take care of our loved ones more than ourselves. But I don't want to have to call. I want to have to call these nurses that have so many things going on, and you guys are pulled for something. Listen, go. I got this, and I'm grateful to have that manner and so forth and so. But love and appreciate these nurses, man.
Yeah.
Love and appreciate these healthcare workers. Love and appreciate. If they're having a bad day, understand they're having a bad day because they're dealing with some serious stuff. And I don't play with them. There was a nurse that was rude as crap one night. I called every night to call and check, and everybody I talked to, hey, Mr. Ward, how's it going? Listen, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. Called one night, and I could tell while I was there because the nurse she got irritated because I had been there for weeks, and this is my first time seeing her, and I'm explaining to her, well, you're coming on shift. These things need to be done. This needs to go. Listen, this is not on the orders. I got to go by the orders.
Why?
Okay. All right, cool. The drain is, you need to adjust the drain. I'm just telling you, you need to adjust the drain or the pressures are going to go up in her head. If you don't adjust it like this, that's not the orders. The orders, I got to do it like this, like this. I'm sorry, Mr. Ward. I understand you've been here, but I got to go by the orders. And I said, you're right. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm just saying I've been here. The doctors may have shifted some things. You might want to go ask somebody. She said, all right. That was the face. She goes and gets the head nurse. The head nurse calls the doctor, and the doctor looks at the nurse and is like, you see the pressures are going up. Why don't you adjust the drain? Well, she said, no, this is stuff that you need to be able to do. Like, if the pressures are going up, adjust the drain. I'm sitting there like, I tried to tell you. And listen, you're just going to keep playing around. You're going to get a thump in the back of the head because you don't play with my wife. Anyway, I called back that night. This is the night, and I had to leave at 8 o'clock, so I could leave at 8. And I would tell them I'm going to call I call it every night around 11, 12 o'clock before I lay down. I called at 11 o'clock, and I called to the nurse, like, hey, Mr. Ward, how's everything going? The same as you when you left. Do you know who you're talking to?
Oh, no.
Do you have any clue who you're talking to? Hey, listen, when I get bad customer service, I'm writing a letter. I'm sending an email. I'm giving a phone call. Hey, listen, I just don't. Listen, no, you're not going to do Dwayne Moore. So anyway, I came back the next morning, and I said, well, who's going to be her nurse overnight? They said the same nurse. I said, no, she's not. They said, well, what's the problem? I said, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I don't know what she's got going on. But this particular woman will not care for my wife. She won't. Oh, and so now, of course, the whole hospital is coming to talk to me. What's the war? What's happened? What's going on? Nothing. I'm not saying she's a bad person. I don't know what was going on. I just don't feel comfortable having her around my wife. You know? And so they changed it and they moved it. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. We got through it. So all that to say, all these pictures, I'm gonna post all of this stuff. We were about 45 minutes in. We got her home. If you saw the video, we got her home. The kids were ecstatic. We've been blessed. She went through therapy. She blew therapy out the water. She threw. I mean, I'm telling you, they were blown away by how she did it. Like, I mean, like, it was funny. Like, they said it like, they said there's an ICU something issue that it keeps people down. Like they said, that's one of the doctor said. I need her to get back home and her environment, and you'll start to see tremendous growth. And that's exactly what happened. As she got home, she just started skyrocketing. She has issues and she's frustrated because like her sister Blair came immediately when she came home, and she has no memory of it. There were several things that took place that she just has no memory of. I call it a gift and a curse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The gift is she doesn't have any memory of all that she went through. She doesn't remember any of it. But the curse is there's times when she has really suffered and struggled because she remembers how she was prior to the incident and where she is now. And the issue was, I'm always looking at what are you frustrated with, and I have to remember that she doesn't remember what she's gone through to really appreciate where she is now. Because I'm like, hey man, with what I saw, what I experienced, man, everything that you're dealing with, everything, I'll take it, we'll take it. And she's just like, well, I just remember who I used to be, and thanks be unto God that was it. It has completely shifted. She really has grasped where
I had to
she
let her
is,
go.
and we're very fortunate and blessed. I just want to encourage you all, take care of yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna let her have the final words. Take care of yourselves. This is high blood pressure, hypertension is real. She
Yes.
was she had just turned 40. She was 40 going to 41. Unheard of. Everybody in rehab when she was in rehab. Sorry, I want to say it like this, was old because it was rehab for the same situation which she was going through, and was not common for people her age, and we believe it was due to stress, and this is why I'm so big on what God has me doing right now. And I want to say this to anybody watching, whoever may catch this, man. Never, ever, ever, ever try to assume you understand what somebody's praise is or why they worship the way they do. I've had great relationship with God. Watching God work through this, you, you can't convince me of anything else. Watching what I saw in our bed a year ago today be what I see right now, you can't tell me God isn't real. We drove to our eye doctor appointment this morning. We just threw on some worship music, and I don't know how we got there. I don't know how we got to her appointment.
Lost it.
Both of us, tears pouring down because of how good God is. At the end of the day, if there's only one or two people that leave away from this with their faith amplified, with them trying to reevaluate how they look towards God or how they view God. And listen, God has been a last resort for me at times. He's been something I thought about after I've tried everything else. He's been a God where I said, well, let me try to figure all these things out because I'm a control freak. You know what I'm saying? And I know there's a lot of people like that. I'm gonna try to do all of this, man. No, 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 no. God is my refuge. He's our refuge. He's our first resort. Now he's the first line of defense because I've watched him orchestrate in things that only can work out the way that he desired them to if we allow him. So now I'm not waiting. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait until it's too late. I don't want to wait until we have to make these crazy calls. I don't want to wait to live and do what's right and honor and serve God properly after the fact anymore. No, I want to be proactive. I want to be in front of the thing. I want to be what God intended us for us to be from the get-go, that we would love him, honor him, serve him, trust him, believe in him, know that he has our best interest at hand before bad hits, before negative things and circumstances take place. I want to be able to be and build. I'm not shifting my message until God tells me to. Why? Because I know that trusting him, regardless of who follows it, who likes it, who shares it, who has any desire to continue to allow their life to change, God said, that's not it. I want to make sure, God, that I follow you, say what you want me to say, be what you want me to be, do what you want me to do, so that you can orchestrate life. And for any person who will grasp this, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, yes, cuz what we know too. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you, we can say all the wonderful things. Look, she don't look like what she been through. She ain't got the smell. That's all good preaching stuff. Does it matter enough for you to say, listen, I don't want to wait until I'm in the heat of a battle. I
No.
don't want to wait until I'm getting bad phone calls. I don't want to wait until it's somebody else dies. I don't want to wait until somebody else gets sick or a bad report. I don't want to wait. No, I want to get there before. God, what do I need to do with my health? What kind of dietary changes do I need to make? And if you're really looking to get your diet together, look at Earl. Earl Roberts. God is getting ready to use Earl Roberts to do some great things spiritually and naturally where
Yes.
diets are concerned. Get yourself together. And here's the bigger caveat. I don't even think it had much to do with how she eats, because she eats like a rabbit anyway. She can eat a lot, but she eats like a rabbit anyway. The issue is stress.
That
And
was
we are stressed because we don't allow ourselves to trust God enough and to put Him first. So now we're coming up from behind and we're trying to figure out, like, why is all this stuff going wrong? I don't get this because we're trusting in ourselves so much.
it's true.
But when we put Him first, you trust and believe. Hey, listen, man, I'm telling you right now, things are not perfect. Things are not great. Things are not wonderful, man. I'll tell you, man, my doggone insurance bill went up $300 a month. I just got the notice today, 10 o'clock. Am I going to lose any sleep? No. Why? Because I serve an amazing and wonderful God. And so if it's been brought to me, He's going to bring me through that situation.
Amen.
How do I know? I'm looking at His greatest creation, His daughter, the love of His life, Nicole Michelle Ward. He said, hey, listen, man, I have something for her. And if God is big enough, bad enough, and wonderful enough to take care of her, He's big enough and bad enough to take care of everything that I have to deal with.
Yes.
And catch this. I can't even say even if He don't, because He will.
Right.
I can't even fix my mouth to say it anymore.
Just messed up the message.
I can't even fix my mouth to say, well, even if He don't, He will. Even if He don't, He will. Oh my God, I can't even fix my mouth. Cause if you're still on here, Shelley, she said it. Listen, one of the problems that we're facing is we are the power of it's worded like this: is death and life. It's death and life. Death was coming before it. Why? Because we are so prone to speak death over situations. We're so prone to speak death over situations. Stop saying, oh, you're these little things, and it's just little bitty things that we say that just kind of, we feel, oh man, you're so crazy. No, I'm not putting crazy on nobody. It won't, just in case it doesn't happen. There is no just in case. It will happen. Well, just in, no, just in case. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's just foolishness. No, foolishness is having the audacity to think less than of how God can and will operate in a situation.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm done.
Absolutely. You just messed up the whole message.
I'm done.
Woo! Hold on. About to pay for another iPhone. Y'all, God is good. God is good. I want y'all to just really get proactive in life. One thing that I just did want to say is before all this happened, I was headed towards my 40th birthday, and I don't know if all of y'all caught it. I tried to share it as much as I could, but I know, like, even meeting this brother, like, I feel like God was getting my life in order. Things were happening, and I just had to learn how to, like, stop questioning it and know that it's God, know when it's God, and fall in line, be obedient with these things. And it was just whispered to me, like, this 40 by 40 thing. 40 by 40, 40 by 40. And it was just, like, annoying. Like, it was frustrating. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I took it. I prayed about it. And my blood pressure was getting crazy. I had just changed my medications. And God told me that what that meant, I need you to lose 40 pounds by your 40th birthday. And so I'm like, look, he wasn't complaining. And so I'm like, but it's something that I need to do. So I'm just going to do it and let that be done. And I got onto it. And then as I started to make my plan to do this and be on my journey to do this, he told me to share this journey. So I don't know who was on that journey with me, or I don't know who else it encouraged, but I felt then at that time that God was starting to use me as a vessel, and I yell it all the time, use me, Lord, use me, Lord. So I had to just be still and start to listen for when he spoke things like that. And that 40 by 40 was a big one. And I really feel in my heart that that was in preparation for this thing to happen, because I don't know what would have happened if I didn't get myself in shape and in order before this thing hit.
That's good. I never thought about that. That's good.
Because it hit, and I was just like, oh, so now, like, I start to think back and I can start remembering everything. I'm like, that's what that was about. But I didn't question it. I just got up and I made a plan, and I started running and jogging before work, and I was doing all kinds of crazy madness just trying to do this 40 by 40. And it was huge to me. And it wasn't for me. That's one thing that I do know. I've always asked God to use me. Use me, Lord. Use me, Lord. I'm always hollering it. And so he said, okay, I'm going to do that. And I felt like that's what the 40 by 40 was about. And I thought that was all it was about. But then I had this thing hit, and I feel like that's what it's about as well. So I know that I've had people reach out, the doctor, my cardiologist. I've had people go to him. I've had also people go to the neurosurgeon and figure some things out. Had some test runs already through this. So I see it already. I'm waking up every day and I'm looking for like my purpose, like everything. I'm at work, patients are coming in and they're asking me questions, and that's why I got into the field that I did, because I always just want to help and be purposeful in some type of way, and I'm just constantly looking for it. And I love it when what you see, babe?
No, I'm sorry. I apologize. I forgot she could see me. This ain't like real church, you know what I'm saying? So like I'm behind her, I can do whatever I want to do.
Right.
So she's looking at me on screen, she can see me.
Yeah. Look, get it. Is it a
I never paid attention to this. If you've seen the pictures of her scars, they were huge and deep.
Oh.
I never paid attention. I can't even see her scars. She had a big scar back here. Look, it's not hair. It's not just hair. Like I can't see them.
I love it. I love it. I'm just happy that whoever can get from this whatever they can, please do. There's a lot of things that before this hit, I can go back. I sat and I thought about it. Actually, I just came from walking our dog and I was thinking about it. I can go back like a good 10 years to when I felt like God started speaking in my life to let go of certain things, and habits that I had that I needed to break, habits that I needed to set in place, all types of things that just kind of led up for this moment. And as soon as I can start to remember things, which was like around July, August, I can remember going and looking up, what happened to me, and like trying to figure out what it was and what could have caused it. And I know stress was a big one. Stress was a huge one, especially with me losing my mom and my first marriage dissolving like in the same year. Like that was just big, and a single mom thing or whatnot. But I remember looking it up, and it's saying that like what I had went through, the survival rate was something like 40%. I was like, that's less than half. Like that blew my mind. And so I started thinking back on all the things that, I was having to let go of and sacrifice or whatnot. I was a smoker. And something hit me to let go of that. And I say something, but it was when me and this man here were dating. And that's just something that he was not going to go for. And I knew that this is what I wanted. And that was just something I was going to have to sacrifice in order to make it happen. But now looking back at all of this, like, yes, dating him, I let go of the Newports. which was hard to do because I tell you, I had two pregnancies. And that's how I know I love my kids the way that I do, because as soon as they told me I was pregnant, I let them things go. But as soon as I delivered that baby and got back home, I picked it back up. This was something I knew I wanted to be forever. So I had to really be prepared to let that thing go. And it was just interesting to me to think back, because that was one of the big things when I was reading about this aneurysm. Smokers, y'all work on it. Start quitting, find something else to do. But that was a big one. I think that smoking had a lot to do with it. I was just stressing on my own about everything anyways. My divorce and my mother passing happened all within the same year. It was just a lot. It was a lot. Um, it was a lot. So I'm not surprised by what transpired, but just God getting me in preparation for it. And I really feel used. I feel like that this was a stage that he put me on, and it's just for him. I almost see myself as like a puppeteer, and like God using this thing to play out. I don't know who's watching or who's this for. I know a lot of it is for me. A lot of adjustments have been made in my life. But I really, really, really feel like he is using me for somebody or something, and he's trying to get your attention, and he's trying to really reveal to you what needs to happen, what might need to change. It was hard, a lot of the things that I did, a lot of the changes I made in my life, to fulfill like whew, where I'm at right now. I'm happy. And I love it, and I wish that there were ways that well, I don't know, I actually don't want to say I don't care, but if there were ways that we can find out. Is there ever times where things happen, and well, people will come back to me and they'll tell me I did this because of that. People have told me they went to go get checked out, they had things done. My neurosurgeon, there have been a few friends on here, y'all can comment, that have went to see my neurosurgeon and had things checked out because they had headaches and things like that. And I don't want to scare anybody, but I don't want to keep this from who it's for, because I really feel like this was bigger than me. This was me, and it happened to me, but I really feel used, and I'm okay with that. I love it. I'm honored. I'm honored. I'm
We're gonna let y'all go. I'm being obedient and saying what I'm about to say. Love people enough to tell them the truth. Love people enough to continue to tell them the truth. Love people enough to, if you have the capacity, to do what's necessary to help other people become the best person they can be. And I'm saying this to say we got to stop Christians, believers, with playing second fiddle to the world and society because they have thinking they have so much power that we can be canceled or we'll be looked at crazy or whatever. We got to, men, again, you saw my other live Wednesday. It's time for us to get back in a rightful place. This is not about having power or authority. It's actually being committed and connected to God so he can use us so that we can get the world back to where it's supposed to be. Amen. Her now, when I see her stressing, we're not playing it. Listen, we're fixing it. We're fixing this now. If she get to eating, she like to eat. If she gets to eating too much, put it down. No, you can't have that right now. No.
No protective feelings.
I can't. We can't. I can't. You can't play. Look, the time is now. We can't continue to keep protecting everybody's feelings.
No, that is a no.
Love people enough to offend sometimes or to hurt, but you can do it in a loving way. Some of y'all might need to wait a little bit. Some of y'all a little rude. But love people enough to tell them the truth and help them out. All right, y'all. We're gonna pray. Mm-hmm. Hey, Auntie.
Hey,
Tara,
Auntie. Love you, Auntie.
Mother Cooper. I love you, and I promise you, I'm not just blowing smoke. We're coming to see you soon. I'm coming to your church, tell your pastor. Listen, I love and adore him, because of you, I don't even have to know who he is, but just because I know you, you're an amazing. Kara, my sister, love you, sis.
You, Kara.
Thank you for being there for us through all of this, with the kids, just everything. Thank you for your love and your support, and I love who you are becoming, sister. Mm-hmm. I love the woman that you have become and that you'll continue becoming. I love more than anything. Jesus.
Oh my God.
I love the mother that you are. I love the sister that you've been to me. I love how you've loved me through my mess. I'm here for you. I love you. I'm going to always be here for you.
Amazing, Kara.
Man, you're an amazing, amazing person.
Yeah.
Shelly, I know you got off, but if somebody would tell her, man, I love you. I love what God is doing in our relationship. Um, so many people have been on here jumping in. We love y'all. We appreciate you.
Love you.
God, we thank you right now just for this opportunity. We thank you, Lord, for the testimony, but we thank you, Lord, for your power and your presence that's in it. We thank you, Lord, for what you're going to do through it. We pray, Lord, that your people will receive all that was necessary for them, God. And I pray, Lord, right now that you would just continue to elevate your people, God. And I pray, Lord, that you will continue to heal this body, heal this mind. We still claim that there will be no side effects, nothing lacking. She will be completely whole. God, we speak to that cortex and area of her mind that where the short-term memory is, and we command it in the name of Jesus by the power of the blood, the stripes that were taken on his back, that it would line up. This is not by our power, not by our might, but I pray, Lord, that every fiber in her brain, every spark that needs to be made, God, would begin to fire right now at the sound of our voice, because the authority, God, that you have from heaven on to earth, God, can manifest, God. And we thank you right now, God, that she is whole, that she is full, that she is complete, God, and she will continue to give your name all the praise, the glory, the honor through all that you have done for her, God. And I pray right now, God, that you would bless your people. God, I pray, Lord, for your provision in their lives, for your protection, for your healing. God, I pray, Lord, that right now, God, you would speak to their hearts, speak to their minds, God. Rekindle some relationships, God. Allow some of them, God, to have a new and fresh encounter, God. Allow people to know that you are real and that you are kind and you are loving and you will do the impossible if only they can believe, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Love you, Earl. Oh, I see you, Earl. Got to give my boy Earl a shout out. Love you, man. Love you. And
Love you
y'all,
all.
y'all tune in to Earl soon. He's going to be doing some great things.
Thank you for your prayers, Lord.